Good morning. My name is Shams Hashani. I'm the CEO of the company RegenLab's MedTech Clinical Research Organization, a European CRO. And this is another podcast where we're focusing on the medical device market and the EU MDR regulations. And I have with me today two special guests, Antoine Chauzy, the CEO of RegenLab's, and Professor Benhamou, the CEO of RCA. So maybe Antoine, if you can just give to the audience quick presentations of you and the company.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much to invite us. Actually, we are in our landmark here. We are in Rome, actually, under the sun of Rome. So the company RegenLab has been created more than 20 years ago. And the company has been created just at the moment where scientists, biologists have discovered the activity of growth factors coming from platelets, blood platelets, monocytes, and other cells. And at the time, so the concept was to identify who could be the good patient to benefit of this new technology that has been identified as a blood-derived product as platelet-rich plasma. So the concept was to find a company that have the ability to produce industrial material to standardize the preparation of PRP, and then the concept was to identify the typology of patient that could benefit of this therapy. And the first patient that has been identified were the chronic wound patient. Chronic wound like diabetic foot ulcers, chronic wound like vascular ulcers or pressure ulcers, burns, or eventually post-op complication. And at the time, I mean, maybe Professor Luc Théo, who is with us remotely, may remember, we met with Professor Théo more than 20 years ago, and we have a fascinating conversation because Professor Luc Théo has always been very much in advance of his time for the discovery of new technology.
Yeah. By the way, Professor Luc Théo at the moment, he liked very much your product, and he's at the moment coordinating a big trial that you're doing to provide, we will discuss about this later, to provide proof of performance and safety of your product against the standard of care currently. So it is, what I like in your product is because since many 20 years now, there is not much innovations in this area of diabetic foot ulcer. PRP is something really new, something different. Is there any evidence currently generated by you, by other manufacturers about the healing of the wound for these particular populations?
Of course, that's a good question. Indeed, we have identified 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, many people have tried to make a clinical study and discovered that it was almost impossible to make a clinical study for the treatment of chronic wound, diabetic foot ulcer as a chronic wound, because this population, when they go to the Professor Benhamou, for example, in hospital, when they go to visit their doctor, it's already too late. They suffer, they have a problem of mobility, they have a lot of discomfort in their life, and they don't want to participate to clinical studies. So this is a very good question. It took us maybe 10 years to make a study, to start a study. And we did a pilot study in the Diabetic Foot Center in Le Creusot in France. And this pilot study lasts 6 years for less than 200 patients. 6 is the nightmare for a clinical study manager like you, a CEO like you, like RegenLab as a pilot and a very advanced CRO for clinical study. It took 6 years because the patient were speaking themselves and to avoid to be in the control group. So to make the story short, the clinical study has been finally finished and published recently. And what is the outcome? The outcome is extremely interesting. First of all, it was extremely difficult to select the population. There is many pathology with collaterals, like you were speaking about calcification of the vessels and others. So first of all, we have to select a homogeneous population. This is extremely difficult. The second thing is, do we want to also to to look for the moon. No, we have to look for realistic results. Therefore, you have to select the population with a grade of severity which is understandable by physician, by all the physicians, and also with objective outcome. And based on what was done and published in the past, there was very little reliable study. The only one study that has been published in the United States, for example, was with a lot of discrepancies, a lot of side effects. So we tried to be homogeneous, and finally we did a very good study because, first of all, in clinical benefits, 60% of the patient of the study has been healed with one single treatment, and 25 additional with 2, and another 15 with 3 treatments. So it means that on that respect, the study has been well conducted. But in addition to that, what we did, we took University Ca' Foscari in Italy, which is a university specialized in public health assessment. And this university know exactly what to do for the medico-economic evaluation in terms of benefit for the patient, in terms of benefit for the public health system. And this has been done with Italian data, with French public data, and recently, based on this study, we have transcribed to the United States system. And it's phenomenal. The benefit for the public health assessment is phenomenal. Based on this study, we got the FDA approval in the United States, and based on this study, we got reimbursement by Social Security, the CMS in the United States, and quite a very good reimbursement. So we're going to have now a big expansion because there is authority recognition, and that's important.
Yeah, that's
the European one?
And in Europe, we have actually, it's very funny because the question of sham is good because it's very funny because the authorities since 20 years have understood that this technology, blood-derived product, PRP, is excellent for wounds, and at least is a new idea for wounds. But the adoption has been delayed for many purposes. For example, we have approval in Europe for wounds, but we don't have reimbursement yet.
Yes.
Approval in Paris, approval in Italy, approval in Spain and Germany, but the reimbursement, it's still a little bit to be fine-tuned and organized. There is approval in China.
You have the MDR approval?
Yes, we have the MDR approval, the new European regulation, MDR 2017-745.
And the EMAR?
Yeah. It is approved under the new regulation. It is approved under MDESA, Medical Device Single Audit Program, which is international, valid for United States, Canada, Brazil, Japan, and Australia. It is approved. Even in China, it's very curious because China immediately have approved the chronic wound treatment with PRP.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's an international recognition, but there is a need of more data. So the first study from Le Creusot in France should be considered as a pilot study. Now we need to do a real
expanded post-market.
Very post-market and very much let's say scientifically organized and with a platform of not one center but multi-center study, more than 10 at least, and that will be a fundamental study that will be internationally recognized.
Great.
Is it the reason why you support the creation of the new academy for regenerative surgery?
Well, I mean, this is one of the reasons, actually.
RCA
Yes.
Academy.
But I'm not going to talk about your own academy, actually. So I was the first to support you to create it. But it is true that this new academy, it's created in relation to the BioBridge Foundation and the French National Academy of Surgery, from where Professor Benamou was president, but now you have to present yourself.
Yeah, let me first present
You speak
second
too
guest.
much.
Yeah, so
It is incredible. He is formidable.
no, but it's a great talk, and yeah, so provide really positive impressions about your product. So it's really good. And yeah, if you can second guest, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
As he has said, I am the past president of the French National Academy for Surgery. And the reason why I was thinking it is something very important today to think about what we are doing as surgeons. We are repairing problems for organs, various organs, a lot of organs. But there is something which is unique. It is interaction with the biologic system on which you want to do something. Reparation, for orthopedic surgery, digestive surgery, cardiac surgery, and so on. But we can use today the innovation coming from the regenerative medicine and regenerative surgery, which is a new concept. I call that biosurgery, which is a revolution, because you need to understand you are working on humans, on interactive systems, and they produce something perhaps very useful, but sometimes very not useful, very damageable. And we know today that using something coming from the own blood of the patient,
Yes.
Which is fundamental, autologous system, with no immunologic reject, are fundamental to understand. And the reason why the platelets, the concentration with platelets coming from the fluid, are providing a lot of growth factors and the stem cells, stimulating stem cells, come inside the lesion. Inside, and for instance, in this congress, very important in Roma, about venous and lymphatic wounds, chronic wounds, which are very difficult because they are mixing a lot of pathologies, infection, ischemia, diabetes, people, aging people, and it is very difficult to treat them. You have said that very well. But today, it is quite magic using from the PRP something with gel. We call that wound gel PRP. And it is possible to use that on the layer of the lesion, and it is very, very, very effective. We have a lot of studies today, and you say it is something perhaps old regenerative medicine. Yes, because you know that from a lot of number of years.
20 years.
But we know today more and more studies for protocols, very precise to compare the use of this and so on. For instance, there is a lot of PRP with various systems. Why it is necessary to use the RegenLab product?
Yes.
Because they are producing the best PRP you need. It is not necessary to have 3 million of platelets. It is contrary. It is necessary to have 1.7.
The native concentration, actually. The nature is well done, actually.
And you give the best result and not reverse effect using more and more platelets. It is not necessary.
Okay.
And it is the complete effect we need is to have this level of concentration. It is enough, and it is sufficient, and it is effective.
Wow. Okay.
And you can mix with PRP. You can use also stem cells, for instance. You can use vascular factor coming from the fat,
tissue,
the own fat of the patient, and you extract the vascular factor, which is very interactive also. You can use also thrombin, autologous thrombin, and you mix with the PRP, and you give a product more effective for instance, for orthopedic lesions,
Yes.
for osteoarthritis,
Yes.
and so on. For the use of fingers, for instance, in the hand,
You can use it for aesthetics as well.
aesthetic.
Yeah, we're doing a study with you on PRP on aesthetics.
And it is the reason why I was thinking it is necessary to have the combination of all the disciplines. For surgery, we have 13 disciplines.
Yes.
And we need to converge using the same concept,
Yes.
orthobiologic
Yes.
systems.
Yeah.
And it is quite a revolution. It is very important. It's a message we want to give here with Sergio Gianesini, the president of this meeting, V-Italy, a very global summit about venous and lymphatic diseases.
It happens in San Giovanni hospitals.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is a quite revolution. And thanks to RegenLab and to his foundation, BioBridge Foundation, he is organizing all the scientists with the reflection and studies. And we can gather all the studies, and the studies you want to do is it is quite for us the RCR project is to stimulate new studies, more effective, more quick, using AI, for instance, to have the best results coming from clinic observation of patients.
Yeah.
And you have possibilities to have very quick answers with a lot of patients.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your insight. So for those who want to know more about RCR, so I will, in the end of this podcast, I will keep the link of the website so you can go to the website and have more informations. So thank you very much for this. For Antoine, as this podcast is intended as an educational sessions for manufacturers, so many manufacturers like you who want to enter to Europe, who want to stay in Europe, that is changing the regulation of the MDR, and this impact manufacturers. So can you tell us a little bit how this impacted your product? What are the challenges and what are the solutions so that you can maybe share with the audience who are in the same hurdle?
I just want to say one thing. The administration was completely impressed by the AIDS disease, all things coming from the blood.
Okay.
There is a break on that. And it is something which is historic. And they don't understand today that the things are completely changed. And coming from the own blood of the patient, there is absolutely no risk.
Yeah, an extra risk, indeed.
And this is important because it is a break in France, for instance, in Italy, and in some administration have to change their mind, and it is difficult.
Because before they don't use autologous.
No, exactly. So let's answer the two questions. First of all, the question of Professor. So that's true. The Professor Benamou did a very serious topic. The topic is that after the AIDS issue with contaminated blood, whatever comes from the blood manipulation is already a veto and a barrier. So we had to show to the administration in the United States, in France, in Italy, everywhere, that we can process a very small sample of blood from the patient itself and using medical device approved as a medical grade medical device. I mean, the glass is medical grade, every component is medical grade. Medical grade medical device to collect the blood, fraction the blood, and then use it on the patient in the same session. So the concept is, as a professor said, the blood collection from the patient, but the outcome is process close to the patient and treat the patient in the same session. I mean, 5 minutes after. So all is autologous and called extemporaneous, means that at the same time, in the same session.
You have not to conserve the product.
And that is lifting all the risk of, let's say, contamination during the conservation, contamination during cellular expansion, cell culture, and so on and so. That's the first point. The second point is, as soon as you have the ability to design a device like we did, and as a production, as an industrial level, so you make a standardized proposition, and as well a safe process for the physician, for the doctor, and safe for the patient itself. And so the patient, having the benefit of his own cells and growth factors, the patient becomes the bioreactor. The patient becomes the one that engineer the new tissue that is going to repair topically the disease or the wound, the chronic wounds, the diabetic foot ulcer, for example. And for example, we have an example of a study in military hospital in Marrakech in Morocco, where we compare our technology with current process, and the result, the outcome is that in the group of RegenLab, there was a 0 amputation. In the group of the control product, there was 20% amputation. So we are talking about very safe and effective outcome that has to be now standardized in a large clinical study. Wow. And then to answer your question about MDR, I mean, actually, I have 30 people in my company, 30 people dedicated to quality system, quality control, manufacturing organization, and so on. And that's extremely important because we have to work by the book with the authorities in Europe, the authorities in China, the authorities in the United States, and it's Australia, for example, TGA. So what happened in Europe? It happened that in 2017, there was a new regulation, means regulation is above the local law. Yes. It's above the national law. Yes. And this regulation has taken the previous MDD, Medical Device Directive, and have increase the level of safety. Increase the level of safety also has made mandatory the clinical efficacy. That's important because before everything could be done by equivalence, everything can be done, by the literature. With the MDR, finito. You have to show, first of all, the maximal safety of your medical device. And secondly, you have to show that the outcome of your medical device is efficient in clinic. And in clinic means with very serious clinical study like the one that you have organized with Professor Luc Théo. Yeah. This is the main outcome. That's why many companies will disappear because they don't have the level of control of safety. They don't have the level of demonstration of efficacy, and they will disappear. I cannot complain because we did work very hard to have this certification. We did work very hard, and we do work very hard because not only we have to maintain the level of efficacy and the clinical, the level of safety and the clinical efficacy, but at the same time, the law, the new regulation, the new MDR require from us a permanent control of the performances of the indication. So I have one indication, I have to have a PMCF, post-market clinical follow-up. Yes. That means I have constant clinical study that demonstrate to the authorities that my claim is effective and safe. So
yeah. Can you give more information about the cost effectiveness of these therapies using
Absolutely.
PRP and autologous product for growth factors and so on?
Exactly. This is, of course, the essential question. We started answering to this question before because, as I said, when we did the first clinical study with Le Creusot Center, Diabetic Foot Center of Le Creusot in France, the second step was to make the medico-economic evaluation by a university team. And this university have professor of economy specialized in public health assessment. And what did they do? They did taking the data from the study, compare of what is as a public data in public hospital in Italy, France, and United States. And what did they do? They did this evaluation with 20 different economic models. So there are fancy names, like there is one is called Tornado, another one is called Monte Carlo, another one is called, I don't know. But they are very serious medico-economic template for this evaluation. And they are specialists, it's not us, those are specialists, and they have published the data. And the data are extremely positive because they demonstrate that this technology based on the patient cells, growth factors are much more efficient than other products from the industry or other practices. And they are efficient in terms of prevention of amputation. They are effective in terms of fast recovery. They are effective in terms of number of treatments. And end of the day, altogether with a technical calculation, altogether they give you the quantification of the benefit for the patient, of course, but for the public health as well.
Yes, yeah. This is medico-economic study.
Medico-economic
So,
study.
so we've done this as like feasibility or feasibility study to put like a range for the next study, which is like
absolutely.
bigger.
Absolutely. This is that was exactly the purpose. The end of the explanation of your question is, first of all, what we did for this pilot study will be extremely useful for the pivotal study, with Professor Lucteau, because all the questions that have been evaluated with Le Creusot are part of the clinical study with Professor Théo in the 14 or 15 university hospital, and multinational study as well, several countries in Europe. And that's important because we already have something. So the data that we are going to generate with Professor Théo are extremely interesting because we have a background already that can guarantee that the data are reliable.
And for the insurance coverage?
Well, this will help to get a general European insurance coverage. This is the problem. It happened immediately in the United States because United States, they are economists, they are doctors. In the social security system, there are doctors. They are not, they are not stupid. So they know exactly what is the burden of a chronic wound treatment and the cost for the public health, the cost for the amputation, and the rate of death post amputation. Can you believe that 5 years, 70% of the people with amputation die? So the rate of death is so high, it's terrible. So this is extremely interesting to get from European authorities a general reimbursement to generalize this therapy. Anyway, so we are ready with this technique because we have set up a factory in Paris-Saclay, because is a center of excellence in university and the biotechnology, in atomic research, as you know. And we are very proud of it. We have inaugurated this factory with the President Benamou a few months ago, last year in November. And it is true that this factory is up and running, and we can supply all European markets.
You have the same in New York?
Of course, we have the same in Europe for the United States, so we have not waited Mr. Trump to made in USA. We did the made in USA medical device before the coming back of Mr. Trump. So we have analyzed that it was necessary to be close to the consumer and to be close to the local public authorities.
That's smart move.
You have your factory in Switzerland?
As well.
Yeah, because it's Swiss-based.
The first one.
No, it's Swiss-based because I was working in Switzerland, but I was born in Italy, educated in France. So let's say it's a European development.
Okay, I like
by yourself.
I like this.
Exactly.
I like this. Yeah.
He's an European.
That's
man.
why. I mean, it's not Swiss. I mean, it means nothing because it was Swiss because it was a marriage, as you know, is a woman's story. But but I was. I'm very proud. I'm very proud to be Italian. We have developed a lot of technology with Italian university, and I'm very proud to have the French passport. I love Paris, and the French people are extremely positive.
We love Italy.
No, but all the big studies. No, let me finish with this, my dear professor. All the big studies and all the serious studies had been performed in France. I don't say that the Italians are not able to do it, but more reliable in France. So Shem, with your clever company, you did the good choice to set it up in France because we have very compliant people in France. They have a lot of imagination in Italy, of course, Leonardo da Vinci, no problem. But the compliance for studies, you need a discipline, and the discipline is terrible. And this discipline, honestly speaking, you have it more reliable in France. That's why we are a partner in your organization.
Thank you
and
very
proud to do it.
Thank you very much. We have a lot of manufacturers reaching out to us, like recently, for doing negative pressure studies in diabetic foot ulcer, and they want to do it in France because in France there is key opinion leaders. They are the sites. They have the material necessary to recruit the patients, to conduct the study like in a higher level, and I think as you know, this study you're doing with us, biggest study, like could be like second largest study after the one has been done by Ergo, and may I say as well, like in this study we are comparing PRP against the standard of care, which is Ergo right now. And we want to show that
Happy
PRP,
to do it.
we want to show that PRP can do better in performance, like in clinical performance and maybe in medical economic as well. Why did you choose RegenLab to do this study?
Well, I must say that I have a little bit of experience in clinical studies, and clinical studies are very technical, and that's a problem because the compliance is the key, as I was saying before. I have experience in the United States. For example, I had a meeting with Medidata. Medidata, you know, this is a big company that have started the artificial intelligence data. They have created so-called the twin, the virtual arm, the synthetic arm. They call it synthetic arm. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it does work, but we have to take it with a lot of caution. But it is true that this is the future. The future is that what we have discovered with you, and that's why we have immediately adopted your system and part of your program, because we have discovered two things in your organization. First, the curiosity to develop this new artificial intelligence system in order to minimize the consequences of a study. Because if you can make a twin system with artificial intelligence, means the synthetic arm, so less patient and more clinical data. And secondly, with this Milo technology, which is a new technology, it's also very smart because you go further Medidata, you go beyond Medidata, because not only you have the ability to make synthetic arm, but you have the ability to make it vocal instead of
typing.
Paper and pen.
Paper, yeah.
They said the paper and pen.
And this
which
side,
is amazing, you know. It's amazing because you save time for the doctor, save time for everybody, but at the same time it's very reliable.
Yeah, all the EDC that has been constructed in the past, they constructed just to satisfy the sponsor. Like the sponsor, do you like my platform, etc. Because, but now the way we constructed this platform is to satisfy the sponsor, but also to satisfy the sites, to make the sites their life easier. Because if the sites see your trials doing like at the highest level, that their life, when they conduct with you study, it is easier because you use new technology to facilitate their life. So you make the interactions good, and therefore it could be beneficial for you in the future, because what's the final goal for the manufacturers, not to obtain only the CMR, but also to get into that market, to get the hospital, to get the end users like the product, like the interaction. And this also comes from the clinical trials. So if the clinical trial data, you don't have false negative data, don't have false positive data that can, people will have doubt. You cast the doubt by having good clinical trial. And this is why when we set up the protocol with Professor Lectiu, and we choose Professor Sylvie Moom as a coordinator from Hospital Rothschild to coordinate 14 hospitals across Europe. So we include sites from France, from Germany, from Spain, and also from Italy. We have a critical strategy to choose the right patient. That, for example, we exclude the patients that physiologically they don't have, the wound doesn't heal anyway. So whatever the product uses,
it created bias.
Bias,
it created bias in the studies. So.
And you don't also choose a patient with wound that heal naturally.
Yes.
So otherwise, the doctor will not believe in your product. So we have to choose those patients carefully.
But we have to understand why it is healing naturally.
Yes.
It is, the studies are very important to understand the natural cicatrization, why it is working alone. and why you need in other patients adjunction of therapies. It is a real problem.
Yes, yes.
It seems important to understand more.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
It's the reason why we want to organize a new academy for studying the things.
Yes.
Not for only marketing problems.
Yeah, and thanks.
They are important. They are important.
I mean, marketing,
But
actually, this is what you are talking about.
The key is science, is publication.
So today, we can announce a new book on chronic wounds management that we have published with the collaboration of Professor Benamou and our foundation, BioBridge Foundation. It's based on our technology called wound gel for PRP thrombin. Thrombin is autologous thrombin. It's a unicity of our technology that has the ability to collect from the blood of the patient the plasma, the platelets, the growth factors, and the autologous thrombin to make it this famous gel biological glue. And that's key.
Important.
That's key to make this very thick material that cover the wound, protect the wound, and help the wound to regenerate instead of replace by a physical thing. So it's really based on the potential of the patient biology. That's important.
It is not a dressing.
No, it's not.
It is interesting to compare with dressing we have in the market.
Yes.
And the wound gel with thrombin, autologous thrombin, is more effective because it is natural. It is coming from inside the body, and it is the effectivity is very quick, comparing to other dressing systems with hydrogels and so on. And
so in this book we have a lot.
Another way I will speak about this topic in the Congress. We have to think about the scaffolds, organizing the matrix. Extracellular matrix. It is very, very important to change the things by this way. Introducing growth factors and platelets and cells in the new devices by 3D printing extracellular matrix.
Yes. There is one thing comes to my mind here because it is really common in the currently because of the MDR. The manufacturer, one of the things which they don't know, what data we need to collect that can be acceptable by the notified bodies. Because the MDR is here, but it was they ask the manufacturer to collect sufficient clinical data. But it doesn't specify what sufficient clinical data is. But when you ask notified body, sufficient means sufficient in quantity and quality. But okay, but what data need they collect again? So it's going to be case by case, okay? So this is where, for example, we are conducting in the same product 2 different indications with Eclavar. One indication, diabetic foot ulcer, and we're using for the same product another indication which is aesthetics. For example, when you take the wound care in diabetic foot ulcer, we have specific endpoints and data that notified body would like to see. They would like to see 100% epithelializations after 12 weeks. They want to see decrease in wound area. They want to, and this is like objective parameters, but there is also like non-objective parameters, which is like the patient's opinion, patient well-being. Yes, that's right. They all want you also to conduct survey questionnaires to the patient and know the pain. They know the quality of life, how this impacted them. So it goes together. If we shift into just another indications with the same product, we have completely different data need to be collected, for example, in aesthetics. And here we are only focusing on survey. For example, we use FaceQ. In the FaceQ, we are only looking, for example, to collect to do the questionnaire on the patient for the anatomic, for example, nasolabial. But we want the notified body, they ask for global facial data. For example, what is the impact on global facial appearance? And they want as well the quality of life. So just to tell the audience that sufficient clinical data, when it depends on the indications, depends on the product, but also depends on the indications. Aesthetics versus diabetes.
The field is completely large, you know.
Anyway, so you are talking about that. I mean, this book actually is a very modest as well in objective, because it's
Yes.
exactly what you
No,
say.
it is not modest. It is
It
very important.
Exactly what you say. There is a lot of data that shows the physician how to use the technology in vascular, in diabetic, non-diabetic population. And this is a collection of data coming from all over the world, amputation, non-amputation, but as a supportive data.
Supportive data.
The supportive data is one thing. The pivotal study is another thing.
Okay.
This is what we are going to do with Professor Theo. So this is very important to do both. And the FDA like that. I mean, the authorities like that. They know that the real life is a supportive data. The real life is supportive data, but the scientific data is a pivotal study, and without a reliable system like ECLEVA, not easy to do it, I can tell you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next episode for this podcast, we'll talking about valuations and funding for wound dressing company, where we have private equity and venture capitalists will be joining to provide their feedback and the market, etc. So don't miss it.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.